So this drill is all about cue ball control and positioning off a cushion and using the cushion to get position on your next shot. So to set the drill up, you put the black on its spot, then you put some yellows in a straight line evenly spread across that half of the table, and then some reds down the table. Now you can adapt this drill however you see fit, so if you want to make it more difficult you can add an extra ball into each line, just adjust your spacing so it's nice and even each time, 4, maybe 5. If you put too many balls in then they can get too close together and it makes it almost impossible to do, so I wouldn't put too many in there, but just make sure they're nicely evenly spread as you do it. And then the objective is to put all of the balls into the corner pocket. You do them in order, so you do this one, this one, this one, skip the black and come around for the first red, 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 and then the black last. And then the rule of the drill is that you must use a cushion to get position. So when you pot this first yellow, you need to travel into the cushion, back across to get your position on the next yellow. Pot that, go back across, position on here. Again, you've got to get from this yellow over to this red, so you need to go into that cushion, right over to here to give yourself a position on the next red, and then once you're on the reds you go down into the bottom cushion, back up, down to the bottom cushion, back up, leave yourself a nice angle on the red to get back up for the black. Now this might look like quite a straightforward drill. I mean the balls are all fairly close to the corner pocket, fairly easy to pot, but the positional side of it is a lot tougher than it looks. Trust me, it's not that easy. You've got to think about the angle into the cushion. You don't want to be coming into the cushion too steep and travelling too far up this way, because the further you get away the harder the drill gets. You want to stay nice and close if you can in this sort of region. And you need to think about the pace. The pace is probably the hardest part of it. You need to always be thinking about getting the right side of the line for the next shot. So what I mean by that is when you set up this first shot, obviously you set yourself up with an angle into the cushion, and you need to look at your next shot. So your next shot, that's the line, shot line of the next shot. So when you come off this cushion, you need to travel far enough that you cross this line. If you are that side of the line, or even on the line, there's no way you can get the cue ball into this cushion easily. So you need to pass this line to give you an angle to go that way. And you need to pass it by a reasonable amount, but not too far. So again, it's quite tricky. If you're only just past the line, yes, you can force that into there, but you're having to force the cue ball quite a lot, which makes controlling it a lot tougher. So make sure you leave yourself past the line a good couple of inches to give yourself a nicer angle. But at the same time, don't travel all the way over here, because steep angles in are then difficult to control the pace. So you really want to be sort of between a couple of 2 inches, maybe 5 inches past it. So it's a fairly small region you need to get into each time, which is what makes it difficult. As I said, you don't want to come too far up here, so think about the angle as well. And every shot is different. You're going to be using slightly different spin on each shot, a slightly different pace to control it. So it's a lot harder than it looks. So in terms of actually doing the drill, and you'll probably find quite often the thing you're doing most is if you just underplay something just slightly, and you come up the wrong side of the line. It's very easy to do that, and straight away you've failed because you haven't got past that ball. So you've got to make sure that you get enough on it to get past that line without overhitting things. So we've just gone nicely past that line without travelling too far. And it's slightly different every shot. That last one was a stun shot. This one, I don't want to stun this too much because the angle is then coming there and going to bring us a little bit high. We don't want to end up high because we're likely to end up straight. We want to be coming across here. So we want to go forward from the tangent line a little bit, but not loads, so it's not top spin, maybe sort of plain ball, just so that we come forward and across. Pace is slightly different from the previous shot, a little bit firmer because we're travelling a little bit further. You can see it almost travelled too far there, enough that we can still get the cue behind here and control the white ball, but now we've got a finer angle. Tangent line here is now coming this way, so again we want to go forward from that, maybe slightly above the centre this time, a little bit top spin to try and go in and back across. And here we want to come, make sure we're past the black to pot the red, but we don't want to be all the way to the cushion here because otherwise we'll be straight on that red. So again, it's quite difficult to judge the pace. So we don't want too hard with this because we're coming off at fairly fine angle, so a little bit of top spin, maybe a little bit of left hand side as well to try and keep it straight as it comes across here, or straighter. Starting to travel a little high up the table, still got a nice angle. You know, we can play into this and down into here nicely, but start to drift away, and that can be difficult as well. The further you are away, the harder it is to judge the pace. If you can stay in tighter to the balls, it makes the drill easier. So from here we go down into the bottom cushion and back up again. Just about above the line, and this is where it gets tricky. Once you are too close to the line, then you start having to force the cue ball a little bit. So you can see tangent line is here, but I've got to hit that fairly firm to travel on that tangent line, and we don't want to get stuck over here, so we want to come forward from it a little bit. But if we travel too far, very difficult on this ball. So judging the pace on these sorts of ones is quite hard. You can see there, literally, probably wanted to be about here, travelled about 4 inches too far, and all of a sudden, now this is really difficult, because, yes, I can cut that into there, but, to move these balls out of the way, I can't play that at a pace, a gentle enough pace, that the cue ball is going to end up here for the black. If I play it at that pace, the red won't reach the pocket. So the only choice I'd have here is to try and play this firmer and go up and down and back for the position, which is very unlikely. Probably will even miss the pot because it's so fine. I have made the pot and just got back to the black, but that's not the ideal way to finish it. The ideal way is to finish with a better angle, so that you're not playing up and down the table. If you've got this sort of angle from here, then you can nicely play in and get directly to the black without having to travel up there. You can do that if you get into trouble, but the objective is to try and keep it nice and close and nice and tight as you work your way through. So this is a really good drill. Like I said, you can adjust it if you need to make it more difficult for yourself, and really focus on each shot. When I'm doing this and talking at the same time, it's a little tricky to concentrate, but you really need to concentrate on each one and take the time to work out the angle and the pace to get you the exact position. You can't play this drill sort of like, oh, I'll just go in there and it should be in the right place. You have to be very precise, and it really focuses you on that for those tight moments in games when you have to be in an exact position. So give that a go. Hopefully that will improve your position or play off a cushion. And have fun. Hopefully you enjoy that drill. If you want to see more practice routines and pool tutorials, then please remember to subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the equipment I use in this video, then there are links in the description below.